All right, good afternoon, and thank you everybody for joining us today for the last Tuesdays with CKLS of the year. It's our annual reports webinar, and we are going to go over what to expect for the CKLS annual reports, and then Alice Smith is joining us as well from the State Library, and she's going to help us learn about what we need to expect for the state public library survey and annual report. So I'm going to take the first 20 minutes, maybe a little less, to go over the CKLS reports, and then we'll spend the rest of the time going over the state report. Feel free to go ahead and jump in with your questions. We'll try to answer them as we go through. In the interest of time, I may skip some for the end or address some later if we get close to time. All right. Let me share my screen. This one here, I think. All right. So you should see on your screen now, it's my website, the ckls.com LibGuide for grants, and it's going to be our system grant or our annual reports. On this page here, and I just put the link in the chat. Oh, hang on, I'm gonna mute somebody here. Okay. You'll see that we have the system plan, but we're also going to have all the information about the system grant questionnaire and the expenditure of system funds. I have spreadsheets that show what you received this year, the system grant, plus all the other CKLS funds you may have received this year. Also, we're going to have a spreadsheet that shows your potential to what you earned this year, but what you will potentially receive next year. I have a sample of the system grant and a sample of the expenditure forms. Both of these are printable ones that you can print off if you want to pre-fill or to help gather any information ahead of time. Both of these forms will open January 1st. I also have on this website the instructions for the Kansas State Public Library Survey. Alice has been gracious enough to give us the instructions a little bit early so I could post them. And then what I'm working on for everybody is pre-filling forms. I have pre-filled some forms for the system. So I have the system grant questionnaires pre-filled and the expenditure forms pre-filled. So I'm going to go over those in a little bit. I am also having Michael is helping me gather stats to help pre-fill what we can on the state report for you. So when we get to the state report, I'll tell you what those things we're going to try to pre-fill for you as well. All right. So when the grants open, or when the forms open, January 1st, I will send out an email and it will have a link to the pre-filled forms. Find your library and then find your link. You're going to hover over that link and then move to the box to open that link. It's a little tricky. It's just the way Google Docs works. So you hover and then move and then click. So you'll have a pre-filled link for both of them. So I'm going to go over the system grant questionnaire real quick, and then we'll go over the expenditure form. And if you have any questions, just jump right in. All right. With the system grant questionnaire, it does require you to log in with your Google ID. Every library does have a Google account. So if you have trouble, just let me know and I can help you find that. Hopefully it's saved in your computer because I won't know what your password is, but I can help you find what the account is you used the year before. We're going to look at Belleville's just because I have theirs pre-filled and you can kind of see what's to expect and what's already going to be filled out for you. Your job is, of course, to look over what I put in there for you, make sure it's correct or correct it if it is not. So question 1, did you attend a full system board meeting? And if so, who attended and what day? So I have yes, we attended, the name of the person who attended and the meeting they attended. We were expecting to just have one this year, but then with the changes of the Senate Bill 13 and budget needs, we did have the September 15th full system board meeting as well. So either one of those, if you attended either one of those and voted in interest of your library, you have fulfilled your requirements for that standard. Then I ask if your staff attended 6 or more CE events, library CE events, and then I have them listed in 2B. In 3, I ask about trustee training, and I would list the event and who attended, or if each trustee attended a different event, then it's listed by the trustee and what they attended. If you were reported the trustee attendance through minutes that you've already submitted, I have a link to those minutes for you as well. I've pre-filled the ShareIt no response rate, and I'm going to take a minute to show you what that is. So ShareIt has their stats. If you go into the staff dashboard and then look at your statistics, you will see your borrowing and lending statistics. And what I'm looking for to confirm that your library has actively been lending and borrowing on ShareIt is your no response rate. All right, so there we go. So I'm looking here on this borrowing activity report, and this one goes through November because that's when the data was less available for me. And what I look for is the lending no response rate. So that means that the request came through, but it just sat in your inbox and ShareIt, and you neither said, yes, I will, pending, or no, I cannot fill the request. It just sat in your inbox until it timed out to the next library. So that's what the no response rate is. And so that's what that's listed there. All right. Patty gave me the information about your library meeting the summer library program standard. So those are filled out for you. I have collected your web presence addresses, so your Facebook page or your website, and listed those as well. And I have pre-filled in your weeding reports. So these numbers are as of December 10th, I believe. And so those numbers are there. If they're a little bit different and you want to update them by the when you fill out this report, you can. But I'm just going to make sure that you're over that required 3%. Then what you'll need to come in and fill out is the continuing education portion. List the event and the cost it was to attend that event. If there was no cost, and I mean like if you didn't use the CKLS CE money to attend this event, you don't need it to be listed here. All the CE, and I'm sorry for scrolling back and forth, all the CE that I have for you is listed here. So if you want to make sure you just get credit for CE, that would be in 2B. Question 8 is for ones that you spent CKLS CE money. And then the last total 8K there is for the total that you spent. And you want to remember this number for the expenditure form. All right, any questions for the system grant questionnaire? And don't forget, if you want to copy a PDF copy of your submission, just toggle this box right over here. If you forget to, I can send you a copy, but you'll have to email me to request that. CE event and cost, would that include time paid while not working at the library? Yes, so CE money will cover salary if you are attending an event outside your regular scheduled library hours, or if you have to hire a substitute while you attend the CE event. Mileage to the event, any registration costs, food costs. If you travel and stay the night before, it could cover that as well. If you would attend a conference, it could pay for those costs for conference as well. So yes, time while not working in the library. Yes, anytime you attend CE, you should be paid. If you attend during your library hours, then your library pays for it. If you attend something outside your library scheduled hours for you to work, then it would be CE money. Okay. Now this is the CKLS expenditure and certification of eligibility form. This one you have more to fill out, but if you have your financial report from your treasurer, you should have no problem. So I should have started with this, but I lost track of where it was. Information you will need to gather for your forms are your library budget or your year-end financial report from your treasurer. This is going to have the breakdown of your line items, where your revenue came in for the year and where your expenditures came out for the year. So you're going to know how your money is spent. You'll want your mill levy for this year, the city taxes you received for 2021, and that's ad valorem, delinquent, motor vehicle, recreational vehicles. You'll also want to know, and I don't have it listed here, I'll add it. You'll also want any additional funds from the city that are not received or from your library tax levy, because that's different from the regular city general fund, additional city revenue. Okay. You also want to know how much state aid is received. Usually the state library pre-fills this, but it's always nice to have your own record of it. And then you want to know how your state aid was spent. Usually it's spent in one place, and that's okay. And then you also want to know what your CKLS funds were received, how that CKLS money was spent, how your CKLS CE money was spent, and any other CKLS additional funds, if any. My other tips are do the system grant questionnaire first, because that's going to give you how much CE money you spent. And it's also going to let you know if you missed a standard or not, because remember, a standard is a deduction of 10%. Then when you're filling out your expenditure form, you'll want to make sure that you have your CE money subtracted if you don't spend the whole 700. Okay. I've changed this form slightly from last year. We've decided that we're giving additional money to libraries that is outside of the system grant, but we haven't really been tracking that as well. So this year we're going to make sure that that's tracked just as well as any other, as the CKLS system grant is, all CKLS funds are. I believe, Amy, on the state report about ARPA, there is a line for additional revenue, and I believe your ARPA's money would go in there. Is that correct, Alice?
It's going to go under the federal government revenue, okay. And that would be like any ARPA that you get locally, or anything like that, any local funds, the ARPA funds, notable book grants, anything federal.
Okay, thank you. All right. Oh, it's not going to let me pre-fill. Hang on. Might have to do this a different way. All right, let's see if I can do this. All right. So on the pre-filled expenditure form, I'm going to have your amount that you received from the system grant in 2021. You will need to fill out how you spent this $14,000 or whatever you got from CKLS for system grant. You need to tell us how that money was spent. I don't need to know how much you spent in salaries here. I just need to know how much of your system grant was spent on salaries. And if it was 0, just put in a 0. Letter E is going to be what your total was from the system grant, 8K. So that would be how much you spent on continuing education. I've already pre-filled your courier amount based on whether you are a 3-day-a-week or a 5-day-a-week library. I don't know if it's going to let me do this way. All right. I didn't think about how these are required fields, so you can't move on until you filled out these fields. This will not mess up Bill's report. It's not, I'm not saving it, so it's okay. All right. And then it's going to ask about additional funding from CKLS. Is this outside your system grant money? So if you get money for Hoopla, which most libraries do, I have pre-filled that. If you get money for Sunflower e-library platform, I've put that in as well. And then if it's already spent, so if it's already gone to Hoopla or it's already gone to the Sunflower e-library platform, it'll be there and spent. If it is encumbered, it is already documented and ready to send out to the next invoice. Then it would be under the encumbered field. And then finally, we'll have what to expect in 2022. So it's from your system grant. You're going to know that if you've missed any standards, and you're also going to know what CE money you spent. And so then you can figure out how much to expect. I also have this spreadsheet here, potential system grant to receive in 2022. And this is filled out expecting that you meet all the standards and that you spent your $700. So you might have to do a little bit of math, but you shouldn't have to do a lot of math for it. Just find your library. You're going to say total possible system grant, adjust as necessary. And then it's going to also ask if you're getting any additional CKLS funding, Hoopla, Sunflower eLibrary, other memorandums and other standing to go there. And then you add these two columns together for number 5. The rest of the expenditure form should look familiar. We're restating how CKLS funds can be spent. So you check each of those boxes after you've read them. And then we ask about your maintenance of efforts, the 2 tests. Did your library budget stay the same or increase for 2022? Or did your mill levy stay the same or increase? This is going to help us know, hopefully a little ahead of time. If you check no on both of those, then we know that we may have to do some work on our end to see if we can rescue your state aid. And remember, if you don't qualify for state aid, then you don't qualify for system funds as well. And then we have eligibility for state aid and system grant, and that's written out for you there, and then your confirmation and your signature. Yes, Amy asks about, for those doing Apple, that would count as additional funding, and I will have that pre-filled for you as well. But please double check my figures. Remember, I'm trying to pre-fill 54 libraries forms, and sometimes numbers get crazy in my brain and they get transposed. So please double check my work. Any other questions? Okay, if they pop up to you later, go ahead and put them in the chat or unmute, or you can always send me an email later. Okay, now I'm going to stop share. Alice, do you want to share your screen? Okay. Oops, stop share. Okay. Let me pull up my question. Okay, here we go. All right. All right. So Alice is joining us today from the State Library, and we're gonna go through the state report. She's been working hard this year to kind of streamline the report and make it a little easier to navigate. And so she's gonna walk through that with us. And then if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat or unmute yourself and let us know. All right. Thank you for joining us today, Alice. Oh, you're still muted. There we go. Can we hear you now?
Test.
Yes, there we go.
Okay. Thanks.
So what can librarians do now to prepare for the form? What data should they gather?
Well, that's kind of a tough one. When you're dealing with statistics that are on an annual year, there's sometimes not a lot you can do ahead of time. The one thing that I maybe would recommend is to, your financials kind of come in reports, end of year reports, and it's a little bit hard to gather your financial stuff too early. I would maybe focus on gathering your program statistics, you know, because those things are kind of finalized for the year, and work on, you know, if you have a children's librarian, or if you have, you know, if you're lucky enough to have other people that have counts, or you need to gather things. But I would really be trying to get my programming, what all happened and what formats, and those numbers in order. That's the best thing you could do ahead of time.
Thank you. Yes. I will say that I'm going to be working with Patty, and it'll probably end up being very first of the year, to put some of those summer library program attendance number that you already submitted in your evaluations, see if we can get those pre-filled into the state report for you as well.
Yeah, it's kind of hectic right at the beginning of the year to start the survey, and, you know, get the pre-filled numbers in there, and, you know, get numbers to everybody where that needs them. So,
All right. What have you been working on this year to make the survey easier to navigate?
well, we've changed the look of the survey a little bit. Let me see here if I have. One thing we've done is we've added a little bit of color to the survey, which just makes me happier overall. And it's the colors all still maintain accessibility standards, but so we've changed the colors, and we've done some things with the contrast of the survey so that things are just a little more clear or easier to read. One thing we heard was that the numbers from the statistics from last year were hard to read. They were written in gray, and those are black now. And so they're a lot easier, I guess. So the only one that's here is that one. But so things like that, you know, we've changed the format, we've improved the numbering. Let's see, just a lot of little subtle changes to just kind of improve the feel of it. And it's kind of a continuous process. So we'll, you know, keep changing things. And, you know, if we hear the same comment, you know, a couple times from people, if they're seeing something or not understanding what, you know, because of the location or something, if we're hearing multiple comments about something, you know, we could make changes and tweaks to the format of the survey. So, you know, I'm always happy to get people's opinions on, you know, what they, you know, don't like or what they find difficult about the survey. So it's okay to let us know about stuff like that. I'm really open to comments.
Thank you. Yes. I've been meeting with Alice just a little bit and kind of giving my 2 cents, and she's been very receptive to that. So you'll notice if you see the COVID questions, before they didn't have a number and now they do. So when you call for a question, what does C9 mean? Now it's easier to reference what we're looking at, and I can help you with those as well. I am going to put in a link in the chat here in a little bit to the instructions that Alice has shared with us. And those will also be on the CKLS grant page and in the archive when I send that out as well. I think also, Alice, could you show us the circulation, part 11, circulation and programs, and how we've, have you changed the program attendance number counting?
Yeah, did you want to talk about, oh yeah, where am I?
Yeah, am I skipping ahead?
You're supposed to be on COVID.
Oh, yes. Let's do COVID. So we have the COVID related questions. Can you walk those through us, please?
Right. Yeah, we dropped off a couple of COVID questions. So, but then also we've added the curbside service has been added in here as a yes, no question. If you click, I think maybe it's not showing. So it's just a yes or no. I think it might be if you say you didn't provide curbside service, then you won't even see how many transactions occurred. So, but if you did provide curbside service, yes, and then, but you didn't count, you just mark, I did not track this. So we're not trying to add a burden to anyone. A lot of people maybe did track it. And if you did, we want people to go ahead and put it on there, but no worries if you didn't. Just answer yes or no that whether or not you provided it. And if you have a number, put that on there. So all of those are yes, no questions. And then we have this optional C10, which is what services do you feel like you're going to continue? And this is just helping us plan for what changes we might need to make to the survey, like this year, adding the curbside service as a question. And this is also optional if you're not planning or you don't want to comment on that. It's just an optional question. So primarily the COVID section is just some, shouldn't be too difficult, just some yes, no questions.
And I'm noticing something, and maybe it's been here, but I've forgotten, but I see that when your mouse hovers over a line, it changes color a little bit. Is that new or has that been there? See how like that, it's just slightly lighter?
Oh, maybe. I'm not really seeing it.
Oh, okay. Well, didn't mean to throw you off. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's fine. I don't know if Patty was seeing it.
What new questions have been added to the report this year?
Okay, so we've talked about the curbside one, and then let's see, the self-directed questions. So let me go up here and close out of here and go to. So this is a new section here called self-directed activities. And we all know that better as grab and go. So we've added this question here. It's pretty much like the curbside. So it's, did you offer it? Yes or no? And if you didn't track it, we get that because you didn't know this was going to be on here. So we don't want anyone to worry about that. So there's a box here for I did not track this. So did you offer it? Yes or no? And then how many activities were offered? So this would be, if you did a grab and go craft on Wednesday as a part of your summer reading program, or if you did something every Friday, that's kind of the number of programs or the number of sessions, or if you did a sack lunch that people picked up or something like that, and you did that on Wednesdays, then you would count like every Wednesday that you did that as an activity that was offered. And then on that next one, how many patrons took part would be, if you tracked it, how many people, picked up grab and go, bags or kits or lunches or whatever. I know there's going to be a lot of other things that examples of this that are going to fit here that maybe I don't even know about. So.
Okay.
So that is the self-directed, and then we've redone the program, and it's not for like us, the state. IMLS has changed how the programming questions read. So we've that's really the only change that everyone's going to kind of feel, see, or try to understand on the survey is the program section. And it looks confusing, but it's not as confusing as it looks. It's basically, if you read it, it's kind of what it seems. So we have the programming section is completely different from last year, or it looks a lot different. And we have recorded programs just kind of sitting here on its own at the top, and I'll get back to that. And this is Kansas, that's Kansas Reads Preschoolers is always here. So last year we had this breakdown of early literacy, children, young adult, and then this general interest is our, it's like all ages family programs. So that's right there. So each set of questions that you're looking at is the same for each age group. So, so all of these questions, while it looks like there's a million questions, it's just breaking them out by their age groups. It's basically just kind of the number of, in-person programs at the library. So this is just your in-person programs. The tricky thing right here, and I'll go, we're going to go back over this in the statewide training and try to get this out to everybody. This is that if it's an in-person program and also you're streaming it virtual, you count it as an in-person program, just because we really, programs only need to be counted once. So that's kind of the overarching thing is kind of you have to pick one area and that's where you're going to count it. So if you
to make sure that you don't count a program twice, one in virtual, one in person.
Right. So if it's in person, if you have the in person with virtual, go ahead and count that in person. But so this is just an in person on site, and then this is in person, the attendance, and this is the other slightly confusing thing. The new thing to understand is that like when I say that you count, this one is if it's in person and it has virtual, you count it under here. You count the number of people in the format that it is. So this is the number attendance at in-person programs held on site. That's the attendance of people that came to the programs at the library. If you had a virtual attendance
for that same program,
attendance will count here.
So it could be technically that it would say like your virtual program, you had 0, but you had 5 virtual attendants because they were attending the in-person program.
Exactly. And those really are the two most, I think, confusing things about it. It's just that, only count a program one time and to count your attendance by what it is. If it's virtual, if it's your virtual audience, you count it under virtual. And if you had a virtual and say you streamed it on multiple platforms, you would just add those, like if you used YouTube and Facebook Live or something, you would just add those together, like your 5 people, maybe that watched on YouTube and your 6 people from here. And then you would put that on virtual. Now, if you have a virtual program, and then you only count the attendance that happens while the program is happening under virtual attendance. If program and then you upload it, then you're going up under recorded, then it becomes a recorded program. So you would not count the program again if you already counted it once, but if you have later views, then those will count under views of recorded program content. So it's just following that same line of count the attendance by the format in which they attended. So, but keeping in that, the program, you didn't have, 6 programs for one program if you use different formats. And then also new this year is that we're doing the off-site. So that's like if you do a program at, I'm real excited about that. So that's kind of, outreach programs or programs, at the elementary school, something at the farmer's market, things like that. So you can count those programs specifically on the line that says off-site. So another thing just to remember about programs, which I remember I never really understood it when I first started doing the survey, is that you count the attendance not by the age of those who are there, count everyone that's at the program, and then if it's a early literacy program, count all the moms, dads, grandpas, whoever there, and that's your attendance for that. I used to think you just counted maybe the kids and that, you don't count the parents. It's everyone but it's not for you to try to figure out like, okay, this person is under the age, should I count them or not? So you just count everybody at the program, but it only goes in the category for which it's intended. So I know that's a lot. That's really the most challenging part of the survey. Everything else, is kind of the same or this same as usual. So, and I will, like I said, we'll have the statewide training, and we'll be able to help people and clarify this more if it sounds a little confusing right now. So,
and what date is your statewide training, or do you know that yet?
Yeah, it's February 7th. Is that a Friday?
Is that the due date?
6th. Oh, wait, no, January
6th.
Wait, let me see. It's the Friday.
Okay. Friday, 7th of January.
Friday, January 7th at 2 p.m. is going to be yeah.
Okay. Is the training, and when is this due?
It is due February 6th at midnight.
Okay. 11:59. And then we have a question in the chat. Will your training on January 7th be recorded?
Of course. Yes, that will be recorded. So we'll have that for anyone who can't make it.
Okay.
And I have here in my notes to let everyone know if it's due February 6th. Last year we had it due February 1st, and that was a very short timeline. But if you need an extension, you can ask for an extension through your system. But I want everyone to know the timeline is very tight, because the reason that we have such a short period for the survey is that we have to send state aid out on February 15th. So by like February 11th, we're getting those figures ready to send out. So if you think about if someone doesn't have it done by February 6th and we're getting the state aid ready on the 11th, there's not much room for an extension in there. So
yeah, it's very tight window for you.
It's very tight.
Yes.
They can for there's going to be emergencies, maybe where someone does need a short extension, but it's not like a real extension, it's a short extension. So yeah,
I did see that. I'm not seeing a place to report summer library program attendance separate. Is that
it's just, we've just decided we're just including that it was redundant somehow, and that they're collecting it. We're collecting it in summer, and we're collecting it here. And so some, you could just count your summer programs as whatever they are.
Put them in with the full program count.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Trying to streamline.
Thank you. Yes. Any other questions for Alice?
And I should say, everybody, we sent out, like I told you, Maribeth, that we sent out logins. No one's login should have changed from the years before, and you should have the logins and passwords if they don't have them.
I do, yes.
While the survey is locked, they can get on and they can see the survey now. So it's on there. Up until the 1st, we'll be still working a little bit on putting some definitions and stuff in a few places. But the survey is as it is, and you can see it. You just can't enter any numbers in it. So
I appreciate being able to go in a little early and just look at it. That's always
you can
helpful.
Look at it and whatever, use that worksheet instructions thing to start jotting things down or whatever. But so
will there be any changes made after the survey opens?
The only changes that I plan to kind of work on is and probably they'll all be done by the time we do the training,
Okay.
you know, the first week. I'm just still taking a look at definitions and some wording and stuff. So there
it'd be
won't be any,
clarification or
yeah, there's
that
not
it
going to
wouldn't be
be,
the questions
those are just
themselves.
sort of background changes that not anyone will notice, but you know, time permitting, I'll still just continue to try to make things a little more clear. And I'm going to be adding some, you know, instructions on the programs and really kind of get, try to get the wording there to help people complete it a little more easier. So
Excellent. Thank you.
so no changes anyone will notice.
Just some background stuff, but hopefully as minimal as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't mention earlier that Michael and I are working on gathering COHA stats. And yes, we do need to wait till the end of the year to get the final numbers.
Right.
But we'll have circulation stats. We'll have hoopla put in there, and they'll be correlated with the question number on the form. So if we can't get it pre-filled, at least it's there for you, right, for the user to pull it in and just plug and play. My goal is to pre-fill, but this year is going by so quickly, it just may not happen.
Yeah, I know. So many goals and
Yeah.
so yeah, if you know, get us things, we can get them put in. And like I said, those are things that people, you know, they'll either see it there or they won't, and they'll have, you know, access to it. So
Yeah.
so we don't have to, they'll get it one way or another, and
Yeah.
no worries about it. So
Yeah, we'll have it posted on my CKLS grants page that I linked out. It'll also be on the COHA homepage. I'm going to go ahead and put the summer library program attendance numbers that we already gathered with the evaluation in case our users don't have those numbers anywhere, then they have it to add to their other programming numbers. So that should be helpful for all their users. At least that number, that all the data that we've collected is easy access for you. So that should be good as well. Any other questions? I'm gonna end your sharing, Alice.
Yep.
And I'm gonna share one more thing here if I can find the right window. That's not it. Let me find the right window. Oh, we'll do this. Okay, share screen. There we go. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. So the stats that we're going to show are going to be linked right here. And I'll show you the spreadsheet. It is a work in progress. So don't panic that there's still blanks in there, but it will have the question number that it relates to. And I'm going to update these because these numbers reflect last year's question numbers, and I want to make sure that they're still the same. And let's see, what can I do here? Let me, I don't know if it'll let me, there we go. So we'll have the yearly totals here. It's being slow. Let me try something different. All right, there we go. And we can scroll over, and we're going to have books owned at the beginning of the year added, all the audio books, the videos, all those things separated out like they have been before. And then I will make sure that these programming questions match the same wording as Alice just showed us on the current survey. But these will just be your summer library program numbers. You'll have to add your other program numbers to these categories as they fit in. So we'll make sure that we have the numbers that we have for you readily available. Okay. This year's state report looks a lot more streamlined and easier than last year's. Thank you, Amy.
There's just some subtle changes that just really kind of helped it out. So
I think so too. It looks just a little bit easier to follow, and it didn't feel so daunting, even though it looks the same. It's there's something
I
different.
know,
You
and
can tell
you
it.
know, this is my first time today trying to explain the programming. So, you know, hopefully I'll improve on my explaining of that by January. But you know, it is what it is. So
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you giving us your time today, Alice,
yeah,
and sharing the
sure.
report. And
And of course, everyone knows, you know, they can reach out to me with any questions. So happy to help.
I appreciate it. We do have a little bit of time left, so if there's any other questions, please go ahead and put those in the chat. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So we know that we're going to have the summer or the statewide webinar for their annual report will be January 7th at 2 p.m. We are going to have on the 14th, we are going to have a workshop that talks about what to do when a reconsideration request comes through, also known as book challenges. So that's going to be January 14th. And then we'll also have Tuesdays with CKLS. We are bringing in a guest speaker from Iowa Public Library. I can't remember the name of the library off the top of my head, but it's called The Policies of Yes. And it's Jenny Gardner and a couple of her colleagues are providing policies of yes, ways to write good, inclusive policies for your library. So that's what's coming up next year. The CKLS offices will be closed December 23rd and 24th for the Christmas holiday and December 30th and 31st for the New Year holiday. So just know that the offices will be closed at those times, but you can always send us an email and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Policies of Yes will be Tuesday, January 18th at 1:30. It'll be an online webinar. I can stop share here. Okay. Well, I guess we'll let everybody go early. I want to thank you all for your time this afternoon. Look for the archive. I will be posting it. Probably I'll get it out this afternoon. It'll come out with all the helpful links with Alice's instructions for the state report. I'll also put the link for to get to the survey. So that you can get to it as well. I do have your username and password if you don't have what that is for the state report, so I can help you there as well. It'll also have all the spreadsheets with our data collection. They will be live sheets, so if we need to update or change them before the end of the year, that will happen. So you might not want to print them off just yet if you're going to print them, but you'll have access to all of that. Okay. All right, well, thank you, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording.